Hi, here we go, Q&A number 5, and I'm in the kitchen garden amongst the papayas and a few other things. So we're going to use the landscape as a reference here, and I've got the manual because I've got a pattern question or two I'm going to answer from the manual itself. Our first question comes from Kyle. A question in relation to incremental design and the settling of properties that have been disturbed. Is it best to leave it all alone? Would it be beneficial to only co-create in the more open areas? Is it ethical to live in an area that was once inhabited but now has forest encroaching? Well, if we were to leave it all alone, everything would eventually reforest. It would just take a matter of time. It just depends how damaged it is. And so in some ways, it's definitely better to work with open area. But if you're in an area that is being encroached by forest, it has been left alone. And the quality of that forest is the important thing. So all of us have a break point somewhere, and we've got to decide where we draw that line. So for me, in the subtropics here, which I can reference to you, here, if I'm looking at 20-year-old regrowth, low quality forest, I don't mean rainforest, I mean forest that's been 20 years slowly recovering and it's not very high quality because the landscape's been quite damaged. That's about the limit for me to cut it down and replace it with a higher functioning ecology like dams and water bodies. Maybe even swale links through between the dams. But if it gets much older than 20 years for me and it's still not very high quality, then I wouldn't cut it down. Now I think if it was just a few years old and it was coming back as high quality rainforest, I wouldn't touch it. And obviously, if a client comes to me with just a few acres and it's all high quality old growth forest, and they want me to design a permaculture system for full food self-sufficiency for a family, my client just changed. It's actually the natural system, and I'm going to ask the client, I'm not going to ask the natural system, I'm going to demand that the natural system is left alone, and the client who wants the self-sufficient system, I'm going to describe to him, look, most of this has got to come down for you to convert this to productive permaculture designed ecosystem. And that's not an ethical thing to do. So my client now is the natural system, and it's to convince the human client to not do this. If they want to live in that old growth forest, a very, very small house with very little disturbance, or don't sell it to anybody that's going to cut it down. Only sell it to someone who's going to not take the forest down, put a conservation order on it, and go and buy land that is either very low quality regrowth, not very old, or open country. So that's my view of it. Now, if we have a look at landscape that has encroaching forest, the initial successional stage is actually quite valuable because it's often not native plants that do the initial recovery from damage. It's the hardworking immigrants, the non-natives, right? The novel ecosystem usually assembles the fertility to move towards something of a native novel combination of species. And we tend to interfere with it and get sentimental about native, endemic, and make a judgment call on it. Nature doesn't work like that. Nature's not sentimental. Nature doesn't mind a more diverse novel ecosystem, and everywhere on Earth is more diverse and more novel than it's ever been if you count the hard-working immigrants, or what we call invasive species. But if you look at the way the incremental change happens of damaged country towards open country, there's a very interesting edge that's very high quality. And we'll show you one of those in a minute, but that's a soil assembly that we can work with. We can adjust that to become the forest that we would prefer. And there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. So here we have succession in action through hard-working immigrants. The lantana is not native. there are many rainforest trees in the canopy coming through the hard-working immigrant species. Now, if we just step back and let it happen, it's going to come right across this pasture. That's our choice. But we can look at that. We can go inside there and we can have a look at the species and how it actually works to convert pasture to forest. But we might want the pasture, or we might want it in productive trees. This is the edge that closes off the light into the forest floor, but it extends the forest outwards. So at this stage, we can choose. It's up to us now. But if you leave it alone, succession will happen. It's very interesting to actually crash in there and actually have a look at the soil. So if you actually go into this, like this, you have to sort of fall into it a bit. That's the way to deal with lantana, just fall on top of it. And don't get scratched too much. Come on in and have a look. I didn't fall in very far, it was just a body length, look. And there, just a thin layer. But look at that, look at that. That's pretty good. Look at that. All those leaves it's caught. Look, all the little birds come here and poop, and lots of animals live in here and die and add to that. That's pretty good soil. It's pretty good soil there. That's what it's doing. It's preparing the soil for forests. And we can learn from that. We can definitely learn from that. And we can speed up succession. It's our choice to make that move and nobody else's.